I wanted to talk quickly and kind of give my thoughts quickly and briefly, hopefully, about the Guy Tang and James Charles. I don't even think it's a controversy. I think it's more of like something that happened, and Guy Tang talked about it on his YouTube channel. Now, if you go and look for that video, there is two parts. Part one is still up. Part two has been set to private for some reason. I just wanted to give my thoughts about it, being a hairstylist and kind of going through similar things. Just for those of you that haven't watched it, Guy Tang put a video up, I think it was like less than a week ago, about how James Charles had someone else do his retouch. So Guy Tang did a video with James Charles about making him platinum blonde after James had tried to do it himself. And he went to the VMAs with like this platinum hair and blah, 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 right? So that's a separate video. Then the part one that I'm talking about is about James having someone else do his retouch. He had roots, so he wanted to get in with Guy to do his roots. For whatever reason, I guess their schedules didn't sync up or whatever, and he had someone else do his touch-up. But the touch-up went wrong, which of course it did. And so he wanted Guy to fix it. And in part two, Guy Tang like showed the actual text messages between them, did his touch-up, gave him a little shadow root so that when his roots did come out, that it wouldn't be such a harsh line. That shadow root, it kind of is like a good camouflage, so you don't have to constantly touch up and touch up. And that's the funny thing about having super short platinum hair is like you feel like you have to touch it up every so often because your hair is so short. And if you get regular haircuts, then you're cutting off that platinum like once every 2-3 weeks. From what I saw in the video, the part two video, there's some breakage. And the breakage was caused by the first person that tried to do James's touch up. And that damage had already been done. So Guy Tang, when he did his thing, he had even said it in the first video where he's like, hey, you know, they overlapped the lightener. There's going to be breakage. Guy Tang addresses the breakage because people were trying to say that Guy Tang had caused that breakage, and he was kind of like clearing his name a little bit. Basically, that was like the first 10 minutes of the video is him saying that breakage was not caused by me. And I guess people were giving Guy Tang a hard time and like saying that he ruined James's hair. When James came back in that part two video, they went ahead and made his hair back to like a dark brown. Now that it's been set to private, I'm wondering if there is a bigger issue going on between Guy Tang and James Charles. And I feel like, because James has been involved in like a lot of scandals lately, a lot of drama lately, and I'm not even really into all that, but I do have a little bit of an opinion on this only because I really would like for people to know, like, this is some real stuff that happens in the salon. Like, people will come to you, go somewhere else, and then come back to you to fix someone else's mistakes. Now, sometimes if you're traveling, if you, for whatever reason, don't have access to the same hairstylist all the time, that does make sense. But I think people really underestimate what going and like shopping around and going to different people all the time, they underestimate how much that's hurting them, not only their wallet, but their hair as well. Not to mention if the person just goes home and does box color, which is in my previous video. If you want to take a look at my thoughts on box color and why I don't recommend box color to people, you can check that out in my previous video, which I will put a card up right now for that if you want to check that out. But as a hairstylist, I don't think there's anything more frustrating than your client making their life 10 times harder and their hair experience 10 times harder. Like, why would you do that to yourself? It is really not in your best interest to hop around and do all that. We're gonna see it when we put on that lightener. So in the same way, James, thinking that he was making his life easier and not waiting for Guy, really made his life 10 times harder. Like I said, I don't really get involved or like pay attention to drama or anything like that on YouTube, but I will say that like it showed his, first of all, like not being patient. Second of all, not really valuing Guy Tang's time. And third of all, kind of being a brat and not really taking into consideration how much work Guy Tang put into fixing his hair in the first place. That's what kills me. It's like this guy, Guy Tang, like no matter how you feel about Guy Tang, because there's people that don't like Guy Tang either, but that's besides the point. He put in work. He put in time and energy and effort into fixing this kid's hair. And then for that kid to go and do the same thing again, like nothing is more frustrating than that. And honestly, no shade, all jokes aside, if that was my client, they would be fired. Because you clearly don't respect me. You clearly don't value me. You don't respect my time. You don't value my time. You don't value my work enough to like not do that stuff at home or have some friend of yours do it at home. Like, that's the thing. If you're going to decide to do that and I have to fix it, either that's going to be our last time together or we're going to have a serious conversation about why you're doing this stuff. Because it's just showing that you really don't value it. You really don't care. And Guy Tang doesn't really need that from another YouTuber. Like, Guy Tang is a hairstylist. He's a YouTuber, but he's a hairstylist. And he's a good one. But just speaking as a hairstylist with this particular situation, it kind of touched a nerve with me. And I just thought, you know what? If I had a client that did that to me, not once, but twice, and really showed that they didn't care and they didn't value me, that's not a client I would put back in my chair. And now that the video has been put on private, that makes me think that maybe they had a conversation, because Guy Tang like literally put his phone up to the camera and showed text messages and like read text messages like, I did this, can you fit me in? Like, okay, let me try to fit you in. And like this whole conversation about what happened and that he was going to fix it and all this stuff. And then for all of that to happen, and then Guy Tang gets blamed for the breakage. First of all, this is not the first or the last time that someone is going to do something like this to their hair and have breakage. When you overlap lightener, whether you're doing it yourself or another hairstylist does it, you will have breakage. Point blank. Your hair is not indestructible. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care what you use. Your hair is not indestructible. There is going to be damage when you overlap lightener. Like, you have to understand that your hair has limits. And hairstylists have limits too. Like, if there is nothing else we can do for your hair, we're probably going to say, if it's a good hairstylist, they're going to say, okay, we're going to stop all of these chemical processes. We are going to not lighten you anymore. So let's stop and start a regimen of hair care, treatments. Like, let's baby your hair and get it back on track. And then we can talk about going lighter at another future date. That's what a good hairstylist will do. And I feel like Guy Tang has kind of been raked through the coals enough. Like, when I saw that video and then when I tried to go back and watch it again, because I wanted to talk about this, because it's a real life situation that happens in salons all over. When I went to find that video and it was put to private and you couldn't watch it anymore, I was like, oh my God, so this is a thing. Like, something happened. And if you go on Guy Tang's Twitter, I think he is continuing to respond to people saying like, I didn't do that to his hair. He went to someone else, blah, blah, blah. Like, he's still defending himself. And as a hairstylist, I kind of know how that feels, because sometimes the damage was already done before you even touched the hair. And you might get blamed for it as a hairstylist when it really wasn't your fault. So I really do understand his initial reaction to like show the text messages and like prove that he didn't do it and all this stuff. I totally get that, but I think it might have kicked up a little bit more dust than what he was expecting. But James Charles, like, dude, seriously, if you have somebody that talented doing your hair, don't do it yourself and don't go to anybody else. Like, it's not that difficult. Just be patient, dude. Like, it blows my mind how people are. So this is all just my opinion, just my 2 cents. And if you like kind of me putting my 2 cents in where nobody asked for it, but if you're willing to listen to my little rantings or whatever, put it down in the comments that you are okay with me discussing things that happen. A lot of hairstylists are on YouTube, and a lot of YouTubers document their hair journeys, and we can always talk about that. We can always kind of give our 2 cents about that. Yeah, shout out to Guy Tang. Guy, you did your job, and I think that you were right to defend yourself. I just wouldn't have him in my chair again if I were you, but hey, you know. And make that video public again. Like, why not? It's the truth. It's what happened. So if you've ever had this kind of experience where you've kind of jumped around, let me know why and what happened. I would really love to know from the client's perspective what their thoughts were, if it was like a convenience thing or if it was just on a whim and you weren't really thinking about it. That makes more sense to me. I don't really think anybody's like doing that maliciously or like on purpose or anything like that, but we all do stuff and sometimes we realize like we made a mistake. So I would love to hear your experiences in the comments. And as always, if you have any questions or have any topics that you would like for me to cover on this channel, please put them in the comments and I'll do my best to make videos that you find useful and that you find informative. So that's all I got on this one. I hope you guys have a great day.